the ES over the last little while. And what I'll do is I'll look at the profiles. And I'll kind of look and see at the bottoms here where the excess is, you know, where value is. And I'll usually take one of these, and if I see two days that are similar, I'll go, okay, there's 2 days of balance here, okay? And you know,
Hey Jay.
Yep.
Your screen.
Oh,
We can't see the screen.
hello.
Yep.
That might help. Jeez, I gotta stop drinking all this cough syrup. Just kidding. Okay. All right. So I just took a look at the the profile. It's a good thing I didn't start doing a video on how to make lasagna or something like that. It'd be really
Okay.
I gotta get out of the house. All right. This is so this is just the profile of the last couple of days. Exactly. And so what I'll do is I'll look at something else and I'll go, okay, what's the deal here? Where's the value? And I'll look for things like excess. And I usually will start by taking 2 days, and I'll grab one of these rectangles, and I just go like this, and I'll just look at those 2 days and extend that sort of that rectangle. Now, then I'll go and look and see, you know, there's some excess. It's kind of interesting that we had excess right here, right at the bottom of these 2 profiles. So I'll take a period like that and I'll go, okay, that's a balance area, right? The values, pretty much most of the value of these days, except for this goofy day, is in this area, and these are the edges of it. And then all I simply do is I go, okay, if it's going to break lower, I double it. And higher, I'll double it too. So if we break higher, I just go copy and move. And you guys are going to kill me. This is so simple. And this is how I come up with these levels. So there's one box. And I'll do it again. And I'll just match these up like that. Boy, steady hands there, JJ. Holy heavens. People are going to think I did drink cough syrup. There. And then I'll change the colors. And then I'll just lock them in place. So when I'm messing around, I don't move them around. And that's it. Now, so what I usually do is I'll take this area and I'll look at the top and the bottom. So this is 25.50, 25.47 3/4, and 23.51, and then just basically cut it in half. And this is really so simple. And Peter Resnicek said to do this. Yeah, I just took these 2 days. And then I kind of looked at the bottoms and said, okay, there's excess here, which is the end of this auction. And I just noticed that they kind of lined up, so I had 1, 2, 3 references. That's all I did. Oh, okay. So all I do, Spider Girl, is I took these 2 days of balance and I just drew a rectangle. And then I extended the rectangle out to see what it would catch. Right? And in this sort of square, this rectangle, I'll go and look and see, okay, most of the value is in this area, right? And then I just simply double it to get the target for the top. And then once I've picked out a balance area, I'll just look at, okay, it's 196 and 3/4 points. And then I just divide that by 2 and add it to 2351. And then there's half of that area right there. So then I'll take this thing. So that's what, 2449. Now, I don't get it perfect on the first time. So what I'll do is I'll do that. What is that, 2449 and 3/8? So I'll make it a quarter, right? And there's my half back. Sorry. Oh, I didn't even know that existed. All right. Well, you guys are already ahead of me, right? I don't know how to use Fibonacci's, right? So that's all I did. The half back is just the top minus the bottom, and that's just half of it, right? And then I'll cut it into another half. I'll go between here and here. There's a half, and weirdly enough, right? Yeah. So if that works with your fib things, that's beautiful. I have never used a fib in my life, so I can't talk about it. It's a Fibonacci level. Fibonacci was some Italian mathematician a couple of centuries ago who came up with some sort of a mathematical concept which is applicable to a whole bunch of different things, right? Go to tools. Oh, Lord, what do we got here? Okay. This thing here, price retracement. Okay, now what does that do? Oh, check this out. Well, la-dee-da. Well, aren't you guys fancy? Huh. Okay. Well, there you have it. And that's really all I'm doing to get these levels, right? And then I just took this thing and doubled it, and then you just cut it into halves and then into quarters. And that's how I ended up, where is it here? With this, right? I started doing this, and then every time we break out of one of these balance zones, I just double it and double it and double it. But hey, but check this out, Blair. I did it for oil, and I don't even trade oil, okay? I did the same thing for oil, right? I looked at oil a little while ago, and I went, I saw like a balance zone, a breakout from balance, and I just went and I started drawing these zones when you'd see how the tops here, you get 1, 2, 3, and then you get the top, and right here you get the value right over that area. So that's an interesting area. Let me expand that. Ish, where'd it go? Oh, Sierra chart. Where was it? Right here? Did you guys remember what date it was? Sorry, I'm having a Dalton moment. I think it was right here. You go and you take a look and you'll get areas where you'll get the top, and then the top of this here will be the bottom of that value. So I'll go, oh, that's an interesting area, right? And then I'll mark it off. So I marked off the top and I just marked off the bottom. And then I expanded it, right? So I had this one initial balance area that I came up with. And then I expanded it to the downside because I just took this and doubled it. And then I took it and doubled it again, right? And I just kept doing that, right? And you guys can use the fib thing. And that's beautiful because your levels will probably end up being better than mine. And then you can see it was fascinating how this happened, that I took it and this doubling of the double, and I cut it up again, and I looked at these and I saw, wow, you know, these levels aren't so bad. Like this 32.60 and a half, you know, it worked a little bit, you know, and some of them they're not. It's weird, isn't it? It's so weird. It it took me, when I started doing this, I actually couldn't trade on the levels even though they were exact because I couldn't believe it. Right? And everyone's like, how did you come up with these levels? And I would tell them and they're like, no, I don't believe you. Right? But these instruments trade in such a arithmetic, algorithmic, I mean, it's math people who do the algorithms, right? So they must be doing something like this. I don't know exactly how they do it. And then I noticed that, you know, 22.78 and a half seems to be quite responsive, you know. And then that 20.33, when we came down that day, we came pretty close to it. So now oil I haven't traded, so I don't know what the execution and the slippage is like, but that's basically all I do to look at a market. Now, and this, all these crazy levels that I came up with here is just, you could see I have a lot of time on my hands, right? It started at like, I don't know, 1980 or something like that. And it went all the way up. See, I just kept doing it and doing it and doing it all the way up to our top, you know? And the more it worked, the more I started trading on it. And then I started noting price action around these levels. And I was like, wow, yeah, well, what do you know? Very simple stuff, right? I told you guys, like, it wouldn't be, you know, it wouldn't be anything complicated at all. You know, a 5-year-old could do it. So that's basically how I did that. And that's how I come up with these things. This one's even simpler. Where is it here? I don't know why these charts move around so much. Oh, here it is. This one was even really simple. How I got these levels, and you can do it with a candlestick too. I looked at this, and all I did, guys, was I looked at the top and the bottom of these 2 days. I took this top, 31.36, and I took this bottom, 28.54, and this became my balance zone. Right? Then I cut it up. And then when we broke out of this 28.54, I said, ew, this isn't good. I went, ooh, 25.72. That's just the double of this. And then I doubled this again. And you can see that that's all it really is. I think there's a guy called Darvis. He did something called Darvis boxes. And somebody told me that it was similar, but I've never had any experience with this. Does anybody know about Darvis? I've heard the name, but I don't know the actual theory behind it. How I came about this was just from Shadow Trader, right? And I just looked at balance and excess. So, okay. Q points. Oh, interesting. I'm sure I'm not the only person who's come up with this. I mean, Resnick's been talking about it a lot. About 2 years ago, he talked about it a lot. He really hasn't talked about it lately. But yeah, that's all I do to get these levels. And then you just end up getting a massive amount of levels. The longer you end up trading this crazy thing, Um, the the more levels you get, and then you end up with stuff like this. It's very and that's all it is. Oh, cool. Maybe that'll work. I have no experience with it. I know I've heard of this guy in a box, and he had some levels, and somebody talked about it. Like, it's old. It's like 20 years old or 30. It might even be older than that. He was like some sort of a ballet dancer who became a trader or some crazy thing. I don't know what the story is, but yeah. So that's really all there is to the levels. So, I mean, you guys can ask whatever questions. Now, it's one thing to come up with these levels, right? The other thing is to see, you know, how well price behaves when we get to them. There have been some levels that I've come up with where it's completely useless, and we never trade at them. Lately, we've been fairly close to them, and what I'll do is, once I have a level, and this level will be, say, where are we right now? Does this have the overnight? Yeah, it does. So we have this level. We have zones. This actually one is missing a few, but we actually have zones, and I'll look to see the top and the bottom of these zones are usually more resistance, right, or support, because once we get up into them and we get acceptance in them, it works quite nicely. So you can see this U period came up, crashed through the 23.5. See, I don't know anything about Wyckoff, right? Everybody tells me that my stuff is similar to Wyckoff and how I think about it, but I don't know anything about it. I got to read up on it. Oh, it just happened when I started trading, Shaw. Like, when I heard about the concept, it was probably, well, whenever the S&P was, in the 2000, in that 1900 level. That's when I started it. And I just started it as like a gag because Peter said it would work. And I'm like, yeah, that seems a little simple. And I was like, whoa, hey, geez, it works. Right. He never said anything about cutting it into half and cutting it into fours. But I got bored one night, and as I do pretty much every night, and I started futzing around with it. And that's basically how I came up with it. And then once the levels worked, I just extrapolated them and kept going and going. And the S&P just kept going higher and higher. So I just kept doubling the balance zones. Sully, if I knew what a delta candle is, I mean, are you talking like delta like this? Cumulative delta? This might be a question for Zero Suit. The size of these areas? Hang on, that's not a really good chart. Let me find the other one here. Stay with me, folks. Let's see. Let's see here. Fifth. Where is it? Why is that? I got the wrong box. Hang on. No, you're right. Yeah, it's just auction theory. It's just it's a balance area, and I'll just look at a chunk of value, and I'll group that together. Oh, cool. Oh, people are wondering how I locate and start the boxes. Um, I'll just look at a balance. Like, well, for example, on this, I just looked at the top and the bottom. I didn't even use. This is not even from market profile. This is just your candle wax, right? So I just took the top and the bottom, and there's my balance area. And then when it broke out of that, I doubled it and I went, ooh, we're going to go down there. And gosh, we did. And actually broke through there, right? And that's really all there is to it, right? I give you guys the chart book so you'll have all these lines, right? And I can't remember. I was looking through my books to see exactly when I started all this nonsense. And it's got to be at least, well, whenever the S&P was 1900. That's when I started doing it. I should have been a bit. I never thought it would be. I never really thought it would be accurate. So that's why I didn't really document it. It was really an off the cuff kind of thing that I did one night, and the next day the references kind of worked. So that's pretty much all there is to it. Very, very simple. The size of the areas is still the same. There's nothing has changed. So that what do we have here? Yeah, so that's just basically here. Oh, how do I go from using candles to market profile? Here's the thing: I never used candles. Right? I don't know how to trade off a candlestick chart. That was the problem I had trading. When I started trading retail, right, I didn't know how to trade retail. So I thought, okay, I'll trade like a market maker, right? And it was horrible. Like, you know how people go say, I started retail trading and all my trades worked and I got really, none of my trades worked. I started retail trading and I immediately lost like the first 10 trades I took. And I felt like a complete moron. And then I started looking at these candlestick charts, and then I started reading about candles. On your charts, is the line always blue? Well, what it is the zone, the top of the zones are blue, and then the quarter markers are just this light blue, right? So yeah, I never actually learned how to trade on a candlestick chart. I went down that road for about 2 weeks and I got really confused because I couldn't remember which candlestick pattern was what. Then you got bulls holding flags, barrel holding flags, cups and handles, and all sorts of china. I didn't know what the heck to do, right? So I was like, oh man, like, yeah, I couldn't figure it out. It was really complicated, right? And then so I just stumbled upon Tasty Trade and found Peter Resnicek. And then I saw these profile charts and I was like, good God, what is that? So if there's a lot of time spent in that area, does that increase the number of times you double the boxes? No, it has. I'll because this market has actually, like, for example, this August balance, right? Um, One of my calculations was looking at this zone of August balance and knowing that when we broke out of it, that we would double it. Uh, I will always kind of look when you drop a market on its head, right? Once you take a market up like this and then you just drop it very suddenly, it has this violent back and forth action, and that's what we got here, and that's what we've gotten here. It's just the ranges are much bigger because we've dropped it a lot further, right? Yeah, so I never had to go from trading candles. I started right on market profile and I just dived into it. And it took me a long time because I went through I read all the Dalton stuff. I watched every one of his videos, but I still couldn't get trade location because he doesn't tell you where to take the trade, right? He uses it to organize information, but and if you ask him where to take the trade, where to put the stop, he gets really mad. So I had to figure it out and I couldn't figure it out until I came up with these levels, and then I looked at, is this level around a profile reference, right? Like for example, I got a level right here, right? 25.98. I've got value area high of this today's trading session. And if you look, when the price came down and auctioned down here, in T period, it stopped before value area high. Now, what does this tell me? Right? This tells me a lot. This level got front run, which means people who are technical mechanical traders like us, they stepped in before this level traded and they bought this. That tells me two things. It tells me that mechanical traders are in charge of the market, number one. Number two, it tells me that the seller on the way down was just a mechanical technical seller, not of size, because if that was a size seller, it would have just blasted right through that. They wouldn't have stopped at value area high. And this also tells me a little tale too. If you look at that 181 contracts, you can see that is a wholesale buy, right? That's not a taper. Usually when you get a move down, you'll get 192, 68, 56, 53, 40, 20, and 2 or something like that. I can tell because it's not a taper. That's the whole, see, and at nighttime, these size traders, they act as wholesale. We're retail, they're wholesale. So we puke it up, they buy it all, and they bought it right before the reference. Right? Yeah, Jerry's really true. I would actually suggest that you start by looking at this and don't look at the DOM, because the DOM is confusing as hell. And you guys, it's even for me, and I'm an ex-market maker, like that doesn't give you trade location, right? Oh, how do I know the initial box needs to be adjusted? If none of the levels work. It's real simple, right? I'll be completely off. So then I'll go and futz with them again, and I'll go and see, oh, okay, there's some value here. This is excess. There was excess here, right? And then I'll maybe redraw the box. But if you notice, if you start staring at this, right? If you're a seasoned trader and have time to look at the DOM, that's one thing. But there is a lot of what they call spoofing, and you really can't see that. See, they just ran the stops, didn't they? Right? But if you look at the profile, you know where they're going to run the stops. You know what they're up to, right? You got to think a little bit about what's the agenda here, right? So the market opened, they dropped it down, just like I said they would. They'd come and test this. This is a price spike at the end of the day, right? And we have to see if price is accepted or goes back down, right? Get rid of this. Honestly, don't look at the DOM. Jerry's an engineer and he can see a lot of different things, but I'd start with using the profile, because the profile is going to give you trade location. It's going to tell you who's in the market. It's going to tell you the size of the buyer. It's going to tell you the size of the seller. It's going to tell you what kind of price actions it is. It's also going to tell you all of that stuff, right? So I'd start with that. And anybody who trades 2,000, 3,000 contracts at a prop firm will agree with me, right? Don't stare at the DOM, because you'll confuse yourself beyond measure, and it's not for trade location. If you're scalping, maybe, but it's going to get you a long time, especially with the price action that we have right now. The DOM is, you don't want to look at it, right? I have nothing against it, but I want to get you guys up and going. And the way to get up and going is to look at the profile. Structure of the market is everything, right? Because this is telling you where the transactions are occurring. This is just an order book. I can put a bid in here for 5,000 contracts without any intention of buying it. No, it's fine. There's nothing wrong with the DOM. right? But when you're new, you're not going to figure it out, right? Here's the thing, Jerry. I don't know a lot of people who start by looking at the DOM who are successful traders. I haven't met one DOM trader who's not getting chopped up in this market, right? And I don't mean to poo-poo the DOM, right? I'm just saying if you don't know how to make a market, how are you going to know how to mess with the order book, right? It's hard. It's a lot of hours. My buddy, okay, we have a friend of ours who made $50 million in this last downturn, okay? And he says it takes 2 years, right? So do you guys have any final questions on the levels? I don't want to go off on this DOM speech, but I really suggest that you guys learn market structure. See, look at that. Look, we're coming into the previous day high. Do you see how it gets hung up? See a little responsive buying? Look to see of the responsive price action. Everybody talks about order flow. This is order flow happening right now, right? It's right here. Do you see how you got a responsive buy right off of that level? So if you guys have any questions about the levels, they're recording it. What are my candles on market profile? Oh, I don't look at candles, Spider Girl, because I unfortunately I don't have the experience with them. I mean, I have a candlestick chart. Where is it? Here, right? And I'll kind of see, okay, we're between here and here and here, but I don't use it to trade off of, right? I exclusively use this, and then I'll stick this next to it to see where we are. This is kind of like a blown out map, and this is sort of the details. And then I'll have like like at nighttime you can use delta, right? Does that answer the question? Yeah, it's actually it's like a candle. Like there's just a half an hour candle with a ton of information inside of it. You can even go and split it. See, and you can see exactly what traded where. Oh, does not TradeStation doesn't have TPO charts? Oh, that's weird. They've been around for a long time. I know they have a lot of stuff in there. Oh, okay. See, the thing, yeah, and Jerry's right. Price is there for us to. It's that flashy thing that we wave in front of your face to kind of suck you in, and we get you to follow price, right? A 10 handle stop for 1 or 2 MES. It depends. Zero. It really depends on the size of your account and your risk, right? If it's a very volatile market and you've got an account less than $10,000, I would say wait until those periods of time where there's a little bit more liquidity and you'll be able to use a bit bigger stop. It has been difficult, right? It's not like last year, right? It's not like last year. I used a 4 handle stop and a 3, right? But then again, I'm a very, very patient trader. I'll wait and wait and wait, and I'll miss a lot of trades, but that's just me. So, if it's all really depends. If you have like a $3,000 account, don't use a 10 handle stop, right? These markets are starting to get a little bit better. There are some mornings where it's just ridiculous, the price action, and then it'll calm down, and then sometimes we get actually some smooth price action. Right. So you guys have any other questions? I don't know what an average true range. I don't use any of that stuff. I think a lot of you guys have like really got some really solid technical analysis and that sort of stuff. Oh, cool. Well, I'll have to look into it. See, you retail guys have so many cool toys, right? That I don't even know about. You got Darvis boxes and Fibonacci's and all of that stuff, right? What do I think of overnight action? I think we're getting price acceptance above the spike, right? I also think that I haven't seen this in a while, right? Shaw, when was the last time you saw front running on the downside? Right? Someone's cut the sell for a little bit, right? So that's one clue. It's just one clue in a long night. But I saw that reaction because I thought we would come in. I honestly thought we would lose steam all the way down to this PM rally high, my H top, right? Ooh, front running. Okay, I love explaining front running. Okay.
Hey, Jay. I
Wow.
mean, this was supposed to be on, just on like the levels. You just want to like answer it in the chat, like typing.
Sure, sure. Yeah, you want
Yeah.
to cut it
Yeah,
short? Yeah, go.
yeah, because I mean, this was just supposed to be on levels. Now we're
All right.
like, getting on other tangents.
All right. No problem.
Yeah.
Um, I'll hop off here and I'll hop on Discord. Then you guys can ask me questions if you want. Is that all right?
All right. All right. Thanks, everyone.
All right. Thank you.